Hey, yo, what up? Welcome back. This is not a podcast. This is just my thoughts with Rob Markman. All right, so yesterday I reported on Kendrick Lamar's chart positioning, making history, 3 albums. First rapper to do 3 albums in the top 10 of the Billboard 200. He placed 5 singles in the Hot 100. Not Like Us is back at number one on the album chart. GNX is back at number one. This is all following his Super Bowl performance. It's a really dope feat. So it felt like something that, it's just the follow up to the conversation that we had in the Super Bowl and the follow up to the conversation that we've been having. And I always say I'm not the numbers guy, but when the numbers reflect something dope that happened or something historic that happened, we had to talk about it. There were a lot of people in my comments. And look, you can't make everybody happy, nor am I trying to. But there were a lot of people in my comments who were like, why don't you report on Drake's numbers? And people, Drake's numbers are historic throughout his career. You don't need me to validate that. There's enough headlines about that. I'm also one man, so I shoot, edit, come up with notes, research these videos. So there's only so much I could do. I didn't think we needed a video to say, hey guys, Drake sells a lot of fucking records, because he does. Historically, he does. Dude is one of the most successful that we ever seen in hip hop. I'm certainly not trying to downplay that. I'm one of the best to ever do it. And, weird time now, I guess, a contentious time right now, but I don't think that changes history at all. But, it did spark an idea for something interesting that we're going to talk about today. According to Hits Daily Double, the midweek numbers so far on Drake and PARTYNEXTDOOR, Some Sexy Songs for You, show that the album is pacing to do approximately 250,000 in sales and sales equivalents combined. And that would be enough to land him at number one. If that holds, these are just midweek projections. If that holds, that's a fantastic number. That's a fantastic number. Has Drake done bigger numbers historically? Yes. But anybody who works in music, 250,000 on a collab album, that besides being teased for some time, he talked about it in shows. I mean, we didn't have like a lead up single coming up to it. It's not like there was a God's Plan that preceded it and then the album dropped or something like that. No music videos. It, wasn't a whole lot of promotion behind this. That's a solid fucking number. And then also, he also dropped on the same week that Sabrina Carpenter dropped her deluxe album, and that's Sabrina Carpenter has had a huge fucking year. So 250 is a solid number, and something to celebrate. Which brings me to my point today. It's just some education, or rather some perspective, because I'd rather say perspective, because I don't know everything, right? But I work in music, and besides my journalism work and my work in media and content, I also do distribution. Some of y'all have heard me talk about this before. Genius Distro, so we have a distribution where we sign artists and put out artists. WorldStar Distro, the parent company, our parent company that owns Genius also owns WorldStar, so I work across both distributions, and run both distribution channels, and I put out my own records. So through the years, I've spent time with folks. I spoke with folks at various DSPs just to learn how things work. So these are really just my thoughts, my education, my experience that I'm putting out there for you. So there's a fan theory that the DSPs are suppressing Drake and Party's album. It isn't showing up the way that people believe that it should show up on search. And I even had at least one guy that I just screenshotted. There were a couple, but I had one guy that I screenshotted on IG. Shout to you. I'll put it up right here. He asked me to make a video about it. And when he did, I was like, well, maybe I will. So here we are. And you could just see right here, like fans who say, look, man, I'm searching for Drake and Kendrick on 2 Spotify accounts, just showing how things show up. This feeling that I hate the word narrative. I'm trying not to use the word narrative. This feeling that Drake is being suppressed. And there's a question mark in the headline here, right? So I'll answer it right away, right? We're about 5 minutes into the video. I don't believe Drake is being suppressed by the DSPs. I don't think they're purposely hiding this album. I don't think they're trying to bury this album, and this is for a few reasons. And also too, I feel like saying suppressed downplays that the 250 that is projected to sell again is a solid fucking number. This is not a Drake solo record. You know what I'm saying? The expectations are different. This is not rolled out in a similar way. This is put out Santa Ana is the label. It's a different thing. You know what I'm saying? And 250 is a solid fucking number. Like, I don't want to lose sight that 250 records in your first week is a solid number. And I think anybody who works in music will tell you that. So, but I don't believe that is being suppressed for a few reasons. So, for starters, Drake is on the cover of Rap Caviar, and "Give Me a Hug" is the top song on the playlist, and "Small Town Fame" is on the playlist too. Drake and Party Together on the cover to New Music Friday, and "Somebody Loves Me" is at the top of that playlist. And then the R&B X playlist on the cover again, and "Raining in Houston" is on the top of that playlist, and Spider-Man Superman is on that playlist as well. If Spotify was suppressing the album, why put them on the cover of the top playlist and then playlist multiple songs? This is an editorial decision. That means that someone at Spotify, or a group of people at Spotify, or by committee, made the decision to manually put that there. You know what I'm saying? So to me, that doesn't scream, hey, we're trying to suppress this album, we're trying to bury this album. Rap Caviar is the top rap playlist. You're on the top rap playlist. You're on the cover. Your song is number one. I don't think they're trying to hide it. There was a tweet from Rap Caviar too. See it right here when the album came out. And then it's even funny. I noticed. I don't know if everybody noticed this. This is a photoshopped image. I don't know who put this image together. I mean, usually what happens with the DSPs, here's my experience speaking again. When you're about to release a new album or a new project from an artist, the DSPs, like in your pitch phase and letting them know, they ask for new photos, new press photos that they can use in case they want to put you on the cover of something or use your image for something. And they also ask you to update your page. Obviously, Drake is not doing this. More so for indie artists. Like, Drake has a team that's doing it. Party has a team that's doing it. The label is doing it. They're submitting press photos and stuff like that. But, the DSPs, all the DSPs, they want new art, new just fresh images, new things to help spruce up the page and make the playlist pop and do all of this. And if you look at this Rap Caviar tweet, this is photoshopped. So I don't know who did this. I don't know who supplied this image or who made this image, but whether it was the label, whether it was the DSPs themselves, but it looks like they didn't have much to work with. I mean, Drake is not even wearing the braids anymore. And this image is from a completely different thing. So there wasn't like a photo shoot for this. There weren't many assets for this. Somebody put this together. Which again is like, hey, like maybe, and then when you get to that level of Drake, maybe the image is not as important. I don't know, but I did notice this. I was like, this is Photoshop. So the album also appears under the new release tab on Spotify, under handpicked new releases. I'll show you here if you go to your new releases, your new release tab, they're on the banner again. That's a manual decision. And then literally the section of the new release section is handpicked new releases. It's manual, it's handpicked. Somebody who works there picked it, and is right next to Sabrina Carpenter's album, comes before Sabrina Carpenter's deluxe album that she released on the same day. So that was manually put there. And so that, what fans are really saying though, at least in the first few days of the release, is that you can't find the album in search in Spotify or the iTunes store. When I click the iTunes store, there may be problems in search. I'm gonna get to that. Like I absolutely believe there's problems in search. Like, that's not a made up thing. But I think the reasoning for it is different. To me, it doesn't scream suppression. Like, again, if Spotify is making these manual and editorial decisions, and also are Spotify and iTunes in cahoot? Like they're together, making sure you don't show up in search? I just think there's another explanation. But fans are saying that they don't show up in search. One thing, when I also went to iTunes, I clicked in the iTunes store and it shows up on the first page, and there's a banner. iTunes store has a scrolling banner of new releases. So it's up there in that banner, and it's right there in the iTunes store. And you can see that here. So going back, they're saying that they're having trouble finding it in search, again, which could be true, at least for the first few days of release. Now, remember, like I said, I work in distro and small operation, like not UMG level, you know what I'm saying? Let's be real, not Sony level, not like major system level, but work in distro for a few years, speak to people, speak to DSPs, look for education, because the whole thing is like looking to understand how this works so we can make sure that we're taking full advantage every time we release a record. So I've been asking questions to the DSPs for years, and Spotify, Apple, Amazon, all of them, and they all tell us, and what I tell artists that I'm working with is to at least turn their records in 2 weeks in advance, at least 2 weeks, and really, they really tell us 3 or 4 weeks in advance. You really want 3 or 4 weeks. Not many artists are that prepared in advance. It happens less and less. The technology allows you to push it to the limit. This is different from when you were printing up CDs and you needed time to go to the manufacturing plants and ship to the stores. And, you really had to have your album in way in advance. But the technology and the immediacy of music and that allows us to now push it to the limit. So they really tell us 3 to 4 weeks in advance. Listen, at least 2 weeks, you want your project in and uploaded to those DSPs at least 2 weeks in advance. And artists more and more are pushing that creative to the last minute. The technology allows them to do that, but there's still a limit. And look, it could work differently for majors for a variety of reasons. Bigger staff, bigger system, just more efficient lines of communication. And a major label artist, especially an artist as big as Drake, you could push that. And people will still be prepared because it's in everybody's best interest for at the label. When the Drake album comes out, everybody should be all hands on deck. Kendrick, Drake, Weeknd, Sabrina Carpenter, Taylor Swift, like these type of artists. You know what I'm saying? Ariana Grande, Nicki Minaj, these type of artists when they're ready to release, it's kind of feels like everybody will be helpful at the label. So maybe you could push it a little more, right? In terms of deadlines. But there's a certain cutoff no matter who you are. You know what I'm saying? And, like a week could work. You could go a week in advance. Anything less than a week, the harder if you upload anything less than a week, the harder it is to make sure that everything is working right before you go live, right? You also miss out, if we're talking Spotify, you miss out on being added to release radar. And that's for everyone. And what I've been told, and release radar, the way it's affected, release radar serves your songs to your biggest fans. So your biggest fans, if you're on Spotify, you get a release radar playlist, and it's usually filled with new music from artists that you listen to constantly. And if you don't submit a week before your release, then you're not eligible for release radar. They can't queue it up in time to get you into release radar. And that's super important, especially for indie artists, because it lets your biggest fans know that you now have music. For Drake, release radar probably less important because we pay attention to his every move and we know when something is dropping. But those super fans that listen, those people that get served, listen, that helps improve search. That helps tell the system, the algorithm, yo, this is important. This song is important. This release is important. Look at how many new people are listening to it. And so they gather that data, and it helps improve search and helps when people search for something, point them to the most popular. Because the search results, as I understand, within all of these DSPs are personalized. So my search function may work a little different than yours. My search function, like for example, if I'm searching up my own music, Rob Markman, there's Rob Zombie, there's Rob whatever. Like, if you don't listen to my music, like when I search Rob, Markman comes up, my music comes up, because I listen to my own shit. You know what I'm saying? I like to test it out. I like to see how it sounds once it's up. I want to make sure everything is right. When I'm practicing for shows, I'm listening to my own shit. But if you don't listen to me and you type in Rob Zombie might come up. You know what I'm saying? So what I say is that search is personalized based off of what you listen to, but they also factor in popularity. Also, Rob Zombie is way more popular than me. And not just popularity of artists, but popularity of the release. So when you search in Drake, you might not see the new album that is brand new, but you might see his most popular shit. You might get For All the Dogs, or you might get like Certified Lover Boy. So it could take a few days for new albums to become a top search result for an artist in name search. Now, this gets even more problematic. And again, as I understand it, as it's been explained to me through the years, when it's a late delivery. When you remember, I said they want it at least 2 weeks ahead of time. Like, really, you could do it a week ahead of time. 4 days ahead, you're pushing it. 3 days ahead, hey, man, what are you doing there? 2 days ahead, okay, we could still work with you. The night before, a couple of hours before, gets super tricky, right? Like no matter who you are. And so it gets more problematic when it's a late delivery, which I'm assuming, I mean, really, like I started kind of just asking around, like, people that I know at the industry, different labels. Remember, there was a bunch of different partners involved in this. Yo, when did this get delivered? And it's not really secret information. And I heard that the album was delivered late. It was pushed to the limit. I heard that the album was delivered on Thursday. So when your album is delivered that late, the top search result takes even longer. You know what I'm saying? Like, it just takes longer for the system to catch up. So from what I heard, like I said, the Drake and Party album was delivered on Thursday, came out on a Friday. So everything didn't align for the release. And you'll notice that with a lot of big artists. It's not uncommon, again, like, who tells Drake no? Who tells Kanye no? Who tells Kendrick no? Who tells The Weeknd no? We're going to accept your album whenever you turn it in. But, you might not set off all the triggers for you. So, but you'll notice that with a lot of big artists who either like drop surprise releases or just push their delivery to the absolute deadline because we're tweaking to the last minute. Kanye is notorious for that, right? Kanye will change a mix 50 times. He is tweaking to the last minute. We see it a lot with him. And then also a thing that you'll notice is when the releases don't drop at midnight, when it goes live like at 2 a.m., that's usually because of late delivery. Wasn't necessarily an artistic choice. It's the artists that are pushing it to the limit, or trying to prevent leaks. Remember, GNX went live on a Friday afternoon, and I had asked around then too. Well, who knew how much in advance that people knew? GNX didn't get delivered until a few hours before it went live. I think GNX on the East Coast went live at noon or 1 p.m., something like that. I don't exactly remember, but it was those early afternoon hours on the East Coast. And it was only delivered to the DSPs a few hours before that. GNX was very hard to find on that Friday, if you remember. First of all, it didn't go live on every DSP at once because you do the delivery. Every DSP is different. Like, that everybody got to catch up. And the search wasn't working the right way. Like, I remember this vividly because people were like, I remember it was like, yo, the new GNX album is out. And I tell the group chat, the new Kendrick album's out. Where? I can't find it. Yo, it's not on Tidal. Yo, it's not on this. Yo, where is it? And people are just catching up, and it's a scramble. That was because it was a late delivery. You know what I'm saying? We didn't even know about GNX until it came out. It wasn't announced or anything. Remember, Drake's For All the Dogs dropped at 6 a.m., if I'm not mistaken, Eastern. Now, Tyler, the Creator, dropped Chromacopia at 6 a.m. on a Monday, though it seemed that Tyler did that on purpose. It seemed like that was an artistic choice, and I believe Tyler actually got the album in ahead of time, and it seemed like that was part of an artistic choice. And if it wasn't fully an artistic choice, that is how Tyler presented it to us, right? And that's how the world consumed it. A lot of the biggest artists are late. We see it all the time with Ye. We see it with Drake too. We just saw it with Kendrick. And it affects things. And so as the days go by and more people listen to the album, those search results will shake out. This is the way I understand it. And, I also think, look, I mean, the search results are super important. I also think for an artist like Drake, it's less important because if you know a Drake album is out, you're going to go listen to it. Even if it doesn't like get served to you in search, hey man, I'm going to go to his page because it's up on his page. I'm going to go to Party's page. I get as a fan, like you're riding for your guy. Like, and I also get that it feels like, yo, it's him against the world. But we got to be realistic here too. Again, that 250 number, I think that's a strong number. If that holds, I think that's a great first week for him and Party. And, but I don't think there's a big conspiracy theory here. I think it's just a little bit of unorganized chaos, and we're seeing the result of that. But those are just my thoughts. Let me know what you think. Hit me in the comments. Do all that. Till the next time. Peace.